guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is lisaphan and today I thought I'd do something a little different for the month of May. I know it is almost over, so I thought I'd close the month and start off my summer videos with a different one. Today I'll be talking about how I grew up as an Asian American in honor of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and I just want to share kind of like my story of how I grew up Asian American in the midst of all this talk about diversity here in the community, as well as just it being Asian American Heritage Month. I asked a lot of you guys on Instagram for questions on things I should answer, and I also did a little question thing for you guys to respond to. I hope we bond through this video, or if you're not Asian American or if you didn't grow up this way, I hope you guys get some insight in our lives and how it is different from a lot of other people. So yeah, let's get into the video. Hello, I know I look horrible right now, but I'm editing this right now and I felt like I needed to say that me making this video is not for me to complain about the way I grew up or anything. I mean, sort of, kind of. It kind of sounds like that to me as I keep on rewatching all the footage of this video. I know that there are worse conditions to be growing up in, and I am so grateful for everything I'm blessed with, but this is just basically a mini story time and Q&A about growing up Asian American. So please don't take offense to anything I'm saying and comparing it to poverty or something. I'm just talking about my heritage in this video, so thought I need to throw that in. I don't want to make this seem like it's a bigger problem than other things going on in the world. So moving on, let's go. So I want to start off this video by introducing myself to you guys, or to anyone that might not know who I am. My name is lisaphan. That is my middle name as well as my Vietnamese name, and my parents are from Vietnam, so I am the first generation here, or born in America, first generation born here in the US in my family. And so yeah, I come from direct immigrants. My parents were born, raised in Vietnam. They immigrated in their late 20s, and I was born in 2000. So yeah, I was born and raised here in Maryland. I've never left the same city all my life. So I'm just gonna scroll all the way down. Challenges you faced. I think the main challenge we can all relate to as Asian Americans, especially young people, is that we don't know whether or not we're Asian or American, because to your family, to your immigrant family, they're like, wow, you're so Americanized, you're so American. They refer to me as like Mỹ. I'm like American, I'm not like Vietnamese. But to like my American friends, people who grew up here, they're not Asian, they're something else, they refer to me as being Vietnamese. I'm not so much American. So I've always been confused. Most of us have been confused. I got some of that in the other poll that I asked you guys about, that we're all kind of confused as to whether or not we're American, we're too Americanized, or if we're too Asian. I've always, and to this day, am so confused about who I am and what I represent almost. I always talk about Asian representation in the media and doing this and that, but I also feel like I don't belong in the Asian community online because I am so Americanized. I've never talked about our community here on social media before, but I've definitely never felt accepted fully by Asian American creators, but I've never felt accepted by American creators. So I just kind of float around to see where I mesh, and I just become friends with like individuals. I'm never friends with like a group of people, just because that I don't feel like everyone accepts me in either categories, which I know that's how a lot of you guys feel at school and in your families and peers, which I still feel the same way. So I think that's one challenge that we all face mutually, but also just communicating with parents, communicating with your friends. That's all the challenges we grow up with, and all the other questions we'll answer all about those. Was there ever a time you didn't want to be Asian, or did you ever feel different or ashamed for being Vietnamese? I got this a lot, and I feel like it wasn't until I discovered K-pop that I was proud about being Asian. Growing up, I always loved Vietnamese food. I was so proud that I could like eat so many different things. I was proud of the culture, but I didn't express it at all, really. I always felt weird and embarrassed when people would ask me like, what's my name in Vietnamese? Like, how would you say my name in Asian? Like, are you Asian or Chinese? Like, I would just get the most random questions that didn't make sense to me, but to them was a real question, or they were just making fun of me, but it didn't make any sense to me, because there's no way to say someone's name in Vietnamese unless they have a Vietnamese name. And so I would literally mock my own culture and like say their name in a Vietnamese accent, which now looking back makes me feel super embarrassed, but then I just did it because they asked and I didn't know what else to say. Like, how am I don't want to sound dumb and say like I don't know how to say your name in Vietnamese, because I didn't know how to explain that you don't have a name in Vietnamese. Like if I were to turn it into like a Latin root, like your name is not Vietnamese, so there's no way to say your name in Vietnamese. I definitely felt embarrassed when I had to bring food that was like Asian or different from my friends. I remember even just bringing in like Vietnamese jello, and I was embarrassed, and I would never bring any other thing like again. Like I brought in like the yummiest Asian jello I love from the supermarket, because I signed up to bring in jello for a little school party in elementary school, and the kids would look at it because the packaging was different from like the jello brand. They would be like, oh, what's that? Who brought that? That looks gross. And I was over here enjoying it, and then I just spit it out and I said that I didn't like it as well, and I threw it away. And I felt so guilty afterwards, because I grew up like thinking like you can't throw away food, but because my friends said it was gross, I said it was gross, and then I threw it away. And I felt so guilty about that for the longest time, I remember. And I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade, I think. Yeah, I feel like that time was when I wasn't super proud of being Asian. I was like kind of ashamed of it because I didn't want to be different. I felt the need to fit in so much all of my life pretty much, and part of me still does want to fit into certain groups, but I just can't, or I don't feel it, or I feel like excluded almost. So yeah, especially in elementary school, all the popular girls were white, skinny, pretty, blonde, and I just wanted to be that so bad. I would tell my mom like, this girl, she's like so pretty, she wears dresses every day, she has really pretty long blonde hair, and I don't have that. Like, I looked up to them as if they were like models and goddesses, and I felt so weird and different because I was Asian. And there was only basically one other Asian person that I knew, and that was my best friend Yan-Vi. But I remember like myself, I wouldn't tell anyone, but I would be so like self-conscious around all the popular kids because I wanted to be them, and I would follow them around and just try to be in their group, but that never happened. Hi, popping in again. In no way am I saying that it is a certain group's fault that I felt this way growing up. This is just me internally, just how I thought and how I felt seeing the people around me, you know? There was like just not enough representation for me to see, and basically I just compared to people who were totally different from me, and this is what I felt. No one like really directly made me feel this way, I don't think. I mean, I'm just saying like white people aren't at fault for this, okay? I'm not putting blame of my feelings on someone. So anyway, I hope that made sense. Back to the video. Peace. Oh, is your town full of whites or is it mixed? Yes, my town is basically white. My school has always been majority white. And the second most popular race in where I grew up is of course African American, and then it was just a mix of just very few Asians and Hispanic and just very few other people of color. Did you ever feel pressured to be or act a certain way because you were Asian? I definitely felt like I needed to be the best because I was Asian, because all these kids thought that because I was Asian I got good grades and that I would be the best at math. So hi, again, not blaming little kids for my ideas of how good I should be at math. I'm just blaming stereotypes at this moment. So this is me blaming stereotypes for the pressure I felt about being a smart Asian kid. So anyway, back to regular programming. Okay, I sound dumb. Bye. I remember in either 4th or 3rd grade, I got a B on a math quiz, and I was so embarrassed. I went back to beg my teacher to retake it. I retook it and I got an A, of course, but it wasn't perfect, and I felt like I was letting people down for some reason. I felt like because I was Asian, I needed to maintain straight A's and good grades all of my life almost. I mean, I had those standards for myself and I worked really hard, but because I was Asian, that's what people thought I got good grades. They thought that because I was Asian, I got good grades, not because I worked hard and that I studied. And also I hid the fact that I studied and I did well because I was like, yeah, I'm Asian, that's why I got a A on my math test. Like, I would literally say that in elementary school just because I thought it was funny as well, because all my friends were saying it. I never gave myself credit for working hard. I always just said that it was because I was Asian. When was your first racist interaction, or have you ever had one? I love you, Lisa. I love you too. And I feel like we've all had a racist interaction if we are a person of color. I heard ching chong and ling ling all of my life. It was not until like maybe 7th or 8th grade that people actually got a grip of what being Asian meant and that ching chong was wrong. And there's this one time, almost recently actually, a couple months ago, where I was at the dentist. I had to rush there because I was driving my younger sister there for an appointment and we were late because she came out of school a little late. And so when we got there, I signed her in and I sat there waiting for like a minute and they called her name, and so Sydney wants to get there quickly, my younger sister, and so she like hopped over these two other people that were sitting in the waiting room's feet. Their feet were like out in the aisle. I mean, like you can sit like close. Like like when I'm out in public, I like to make sure that there's room for people to walk, so like my feet are in, but their feet were like out, just like relaxing. And I like totally get it, but like Cindy needs to get somewhere, so she quietly whispered, "Excuse me," and just jumped over them and went inside. And these two women just stared at each other, and they didn't look at me or anything, but they just stared at each other. They go like, "Oh, manners." Like they were like going at it. They were cursing. They were saying all these things about how my younger sister didn't have manners, where their parents were, where her parents were, why she wasn't taught to not do that to strangers and have respect for strangers. But then they were saying that, but they were also cursing right in front of their children. And this teenager that was there as well, I guess they were all family, she was laughing at it. And then the older woman said I mean, I guess she was saying it to me, but I didn't look up. She was just saying like they should go back to their country. Why they in America if they're gonna disrespect us like that? And I like sat there like tearing up because I couldn't like just cry because I was in public, but like I was so hurt that someone else of color, they weren't white, someone else, a person of color, would come at another family of people of color and tell them to go back to their country. My mom has gotten that also just shopping at Walmart. There's probably other interactions before, but that was a very memorable one. I still remember it to this day. The next question is, what was the time where you felt the most proud to be an Asian? So this is definitely when I discovered K-pop. My older sister showed me some Girls' Generation and some 𝐋𝐄𝐒 in 2013 or 14 or something. I was in middle school. And this is like the first time I saw that Asians were cool. Like Asians didn't only know how to do like math homework. I saw something in the media that showed Asians as like really cool people. I mean, of course this is like a Korean thing, it was K-pop, but like I saw them in the media, I saw videos of them and I was like, wow, they're cool. And I was so proud they were Asian. But this also led me to not like being Vietnamese because of the Hallyu wave, the Korean culture wave. I wanted to be Korean. I will admit that. Like back then, I was so into the culture that I really wanted to be Korean. Koreans were cool. Koreans made up all these music and the fashion. And even in Vietnam right now, they copy a lot of the Korean makeup styles and hairstyles and music videos. So if you look into Vietnamese pop culture, you'll see the Korean influence. And I was caught in that back in the day, but that was the first time I ever felt super, super proud of being Asian, because it was the first time I saw Asians not being represented as the geeky smart person in the movie or a kung fu movie, or it was just something different. And seeing them as popular pop stars, it was like insane to me and I was really into it. That's probably how a lot of you guys found me, from my K-pop related videos back then. I still listen to K-pop here and there. I listen to a lot of K-indie music and cafe music when I study, but that's besides the point. That's how a lot of you guys found me, from all those K-beauty and Korean videos. But back then, I was so into the culture. I was just happy to be Asian, almost labeling myself as just being Asian and associated with that just because we're from the same continent. Actually, backtrack. When I was 8, I watched Michelle Phan for the first time, and that blew my mind. That's why I wanted to do YouTube for so long, since I was 8 years old, was because I watched Michelle Phan videos and she had the same last name as me. She was Vietnamese, she was doing makeup, and that was like the first time I saw anyone that looks like me doing that, so that was super cool. But I guess the revolutionary point was K-pop. But anyway, the next question is, did you ever feel embarrassed of your Asian parents, and were your parents born in America? So no, like I said before, my parents were born in Vietnam. They came over here in their late 20s, and honestly, even though my background like that you guys have heard so far, that I was super just not into being Asian, I was proud of my parents because I knew how hard they worked. I like knew how hard and how much it takes to immigrate to America and just be in a world where you know nothing, no one, the language, like everything. I mean my parents had their family, but outside of that they didn't have new friends, they didn't understand the language, they had to go to school to learn English, and they had to take on service jobs. So I've always felt proud of my parents for how hard they worked. They both work together now as nail salon owners, and they flip houses sometimes. But when they first immigrated, my mom was just learning how to do nails, and my dad did construction work for the longest time, up until like a few years ago was when he quit because he has back problems. But my parents have always worked so hard for what they have. I just look at them and I'm like, wow, like I don't know how I will be able to live up to what they've done. The next question is, what was the most difficulties you had from your family? I feel like this is very broad, so I wanted to present this question because the most difficult part of being in an Asian American family is definitely the culture difference. Me being born and raised in America, going to school in an American public education system, I grew up with American friends, and so the way they grew up is much more carefree compared to my parents. My parents are super strict. They've always been strict, especially towards me for some reason. I'm the middle child and we're all girls, my sisters and I. And so they've always been strict, but extra strict with me about what I do. They're very strict parents, so growing up the difficulty was trying to get through to them and explain what I wanted and how I felt and why I did certain things that I did. And then of course they would never understand. So I guess that's the difficulty here with having Asian parents or being Asian American, is that your parents who are immigrants grew up in a totally different society and totally different, they grew up in a totally different environment as well, and the atmosphere is much different. Their values are different. I guess their path of life is almost different, and it's hard to explain how you feel, especially now that mental health is a huge thing. They don't understand that type of stuff. A lot of you guys probably can relate to this, where if I go out one weekend, I can't go out the next, or I can't go out the next day. If I go out for one day a week, that is it for the week. I've had my fun time for the week, so that I can't go out again. You just kind of have to space out and be smart of when you ask as well. So yeah, the difficulty growing up was just getting through to my parents and relating on a certain level and just getting them to understand what I want to do, what's fun, what my friends are doing, why I wanted to do certain things, because they just didn't understand why I wanted to go out multiple times a week. They don't understand why I would want to go to a movie and dinner in the same night. That was definitely hard for me to understand back in middle school and early in high school, because I was just like, why can't I just have fun? Why can't I do this and that? And it would just end in a lot of fighting, me not understanding them. But now I do understand that it's just because of the different, it's the difference in our childhoods. Oh, this is a very different question. Things you don't like about Asian culture. Okay, the biggest thing I can like that just shoots up to my mind when I hear this is that I don't like it that it's a compliment to tell me that I am pretty because I look American, or that I'm pretty because I have Korean style makeup on. I've heard that so many times before, where I would wear Korean style makeup and family members or friends or like people on the internet would be like, oh my gosh, you look Korean, you're so pretty. Like, that would hurt me. That's what kind of like made me feel like I wanted to be Korean so much in middle school. And also the whole thing about being American, like, wow, that child looks so Mỹ, she's so American, like she's so pretty, she has double eyelids, she doesn't look very Vietnamese, she's so pretty. I don't know, that made me feel so weird. I was like, so because I have double lids and that I look American, I'm pretty, looking American makes me pretty, and I never knew what that meant. A lot of people growing up that were Asian thought I was mixed because I had double eyelids. I do have quite a swoopy nose, so my nose was never the standing point here that made me look American. But yeah, I do have double eyelids, but that's because both my parents do. I grew up wanting to look American, and then at one point in middle school I wanted to look Korean. I never wanted to look Vietnamese, or just Vietnamese American holistically. It was one or the other. It was an extreme. It was one culture or one look or the other. It was never just me as a person. Oh, and also I would love to speak about this because this is a huge problem in Asian culture, is that a lot of Asian people are racist towards African Americans and Black people, and I will admit that a lot of people that I know that are Asian do like use African American and black as an insult sometimes. Like, if you're too dark, you look black, and that it's not pretty. And I'm just like, I've always grown up thinking it's confusing. I'm like, dude, like, just because she's dark doesn't mean she's ugly. Like, I've always admired all skin tones. So I grew up very confused about like comparing people to black people, because I was just like, where's the correlation? I don't see why they're ugly because they look black. Like, I don't, and I also don't understand why certain older Asian women are just like, wow, that baby's mixed with black, she's pretty, like she's mixed but in a good way. I'm like, she's a baby, like let her be, like she's so cute. Like, don't just say like she's cute for a mixed child. Like, and it's just something I've never really loved or liked at all in the Asian culture. So, do your parents pressure you in becoming successful when you were young? I definitely felt the pressure of getting good grades and knowing how to read and write when I was in elementary school and in middle school, just being the top of my class. But when I got to high school, I feel like they knew how I could carry myself and how much responsibility I knew I had for myself and how I could manage my own time. So they weren't super pressuring with me when I was in high school. I mean, they wanted me to get like A's, but they didn't like hover over me when I did my homework and stuff. And they did pressure me into making sure I was successful so that I can get into college. They did not want me to do nails. They don't want me to do service work. So that's why I guess that's where the pressure came from, just to make sure I was really focused on school, because education always came first. That's kind of the reason why they came to America, so that I can live a better childhood than they did and not do what they're doing right now. So my parents really don't want any of me or my sisters to do service work. They want us to have a corporate job, an office job. They wanted me to be either a doctor, a lawyer, CEO, or engineer. I went down the business route, but my older sister's doing social work and my younger sister wants to do something in the medical field. So, did your parents have crazy superstitions? Actually, some of you guys have asked for me to thrift before, and the reason why I don't thrift is because my parents have superstitions about thrifted clothing, but they don't ever want me to go in a Goodwill and buy clothes, because they think that if somehow someone that has had that shirt, if they died, that I would die in the shirt. And so, yeah, stuff like that. Okay, and now those are the questions. I hope I went through a couple of them that would kind of share my childhood with you guys. I feel like that was very well-rounded. Thank you for sending in your questions. And now I'm just gonna go through the responses to growing up Asian American. ... How is your English so good? Maybe because I was born in America, honey. Thanks, I went to school here. Racism is supposed to be a joke. Yes, like I explained before, people thought it was funny and okay to call me Ching Chong and Ling Ling. Rice all day, every day. It's kind of true. The nail salon lady jokes. Sometimes offensive, usually unoriginal and not funny. Yes, since I am the child of nail technicians, I've grown up in the world of nail salons. When I see a nail salon joke or a nail salon video joke, I don't care that it was a joke. It's racist and wrong, and there's no way to explain what you did was funny or right. It's not for shits and giggles. Like, it's actually like someone's profession, how people like make money, and for you to mock their language and just like do a little acting of how they do your toes or whatever, like that's just not funny. So don't do it, please. I don't want to see it on my timeline. I don't want to see you making a fool of yourself. So let's all quit. Translating for your parents. I feel like this is a thing for all immigrant children, but yes, translating, it's like your first job with no pay. My camera cut off again and I was ending today's video, but I got a lot of just you guys saying that you never felt American and that you never felt Asian, you never felt Asian enough to be with Asians, you never felt too American enough to be with American people, all that stuff. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I feel that 110%. I feel that to this day, and I just want my channel, my community here on social media to be a free-for-all for all kinds of people. I know a lot of you guys are young Asian American girls, but I just want you guys to know that this channel is not for just super Asian people or super American people, whatever that means. I just want you guys to chill, watch my videos, relate to it, and I'm gonna work on that this summer just to make better content for you guys and for you guys to feel like this is a home. I know that sounds super cheesy, but I grew up not knowing where to be, who to watch, or what's a safe space for me to be in, because I would watch people and then I would want to be them. I would want to be super Asian or super American. I never knew what to do. So I want this channel to be a cool space for you guys to chill out and watch. So give me some video suggestions down below of what you guys want to see from me in the future. And I also want to start a discussion about how we all grew up down below. So whether or not you are Asian, American, or whatever, let me know how you grew up, if you can relate to anything I said, or how different yours was to mine, your background and all that stuff. So let me know down below. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me if you haven't yet, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well if you want to, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Bye, beauties!